Hey everyone, thanks for joining this panel. Today the topic is the AI-governed DAO, fiction or inevitable future. So I'm sure you can guess, this is discussing the intersection of AI and DAOs. Today I'll let the panelists introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, I am Tanisha. I am a governance consultant with Mehta Foundation, helping them with treasury governance, Filecoin Foundation, helping them with system smart contract governance, protocol governance, and Avail, helping them with Nexus and staking design. Prior to this, I was at Polygon for 2.5 years working on governance innovation and mechanism design.
My name's Retro. I'm filling in for Juan as backup today. We work together coordinating the Sky ecosystem since before the start of Endgame, but through it and now into the launch of the Star ecosystem.
Hola a todos. Hi, my name is Alan. I'm part of the MetaPulse team. I have been working as head of governance, designing the different programs to build a community-driven governance inside of MetaPool. MetaPool is a liquid staking platform. I'm very happy to be here.
Hi guys, my name is Devansh and I'm leading some of the AI allocation of money to public goods at Ethereum Foundation. I worked earlier with Arbitrum Foundation in the DAO on their treasury management strategies and even in Gitcoin and Octant before that. So really happy to be on this panel, yeah.
Thanks guys. I realized that I didn't introduce myself. My name is Raam. I work on the governance team at the Arbitrum Foundation, like Devansh alluded to. Let's get right in. So I guess just to set the scene, when we talk about AI and governance, what do we actually mean? Do you want to kick us off, Devansh?
Yeah, sure. So I'll first talk about what we mean when we even use the word governance and then maybe go into the AI part. So I broadly divide that into two categories of governance. One is, should we approve this product change or not? Yes or no, which is a very binary and a limiting option. Like if you say yes, that means no. If you say no, it means no to yes. And the second is, who should we give how much money to, which is also zero sum. So that's basically how I break the problem of governance down into like distributing money to people and approving a change or not. So the question was on how AI relates to this. So I think AI is generally good at making a lot of decisions. Humans are good at making a few decisions. So like when we reach the point of a governance system where we have to make a lot of decisions, that's the point that we should be considering AI. But if we have to make only a few decisions, I think right now AI as an assistant to humans is probably the most feasible thing there is now.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? What do we mean by AI and governance?
I think it's a spectrum, right? It's a bunch of users. So I would think of it as a user journey and map AI at different points. One is where AI is solving operational governance problems. So this is synthesizing information, notifying you about changes, dissecting what effect that proposal has on multiple stakeholder groups. Then there's the other part in the user journey where it is something you delegate to. So you might say that here's a place where AI could go take decisions on my behalf, which I think is very harmful, and we will get into that in a bit. But that's another form of governance and AI discussions I've been seeing. And the third is a little bit more underlying. Who submits the training data? How should that be governed on the rules? Should there be a panel that decides whether the data is good enough? How should that human panel then be governed? So there's this whole underlying stakeholder management kind of layer, which again AI is now kind of coming in a lot. So it's a spectrum in that sense.
Okay, nice. Retro or Alan, anything to add there?
Yeah, we've been looking at AI governance for the better part of a year and a half, and the journey that we've taken has really started at like context engineering, if you will. The original use case that a lot of teams found was it was just a useful tool to help navigate a very complex and dynamic ecosystem. It also created a nice onboarding tool for contributors that in our decentralized world may not have access to every subject matter expert across all the teams. So it was a useful guide in navigating a forum, finding historical context, and the part that we're trying to bridge into right now is bringing in to operations, but do it in a way where we're confident and can wholly depend on it for at least monitoring and keeping visibility, similar to the success it had at the first stages of just helping people navigate the ecosystem, but then start to draw to attention the important things that everyone needs to look at, and yeah, effectively build up to managing the system for us.
Okay, nice.
I probably can say that, well, under the vision of a DAO, you can have like basically two things. One is taking and driving decisions of what will this DAO make on the present, on the future, etc. And the second one is how do you drive efforts or value or money or however you want to call it to make this possible. And I think this has been explored in the last 5 years at least, I think, with many efforts from many sides on how you can do how you can do this with improvement proposals, with grants, with contributions to the community, with retroactive public goods, funding that you can create. And at the moment, I think that still is hard to take the best decisions on the DAO, driven only by humans. Today we have the possibility to improve our capabilities on taking decisions by putting AI systems. I think we will discuss more about that. But AI can do that, can help us to take the better decisions in order to ensure that the vision of the DAO is accomplished on the time.
Okay, nice. So yeah, really already a quite broad range of examples being mentioned. So making micro decisions, summarizing proposals, acting as an assistant, actually delegating to AI, and then as you mentioned, Retro, a few of the operational activities can also be conducted by AI, and we will get into these in a bit. But I guess next question, just taking a step back, how mature do you think the use of AI is in DAOs compared to other verticals in Web3? Do you want to start on that one? So how mature is the use of AI in DAOs compared to AI in DeFi or other Web3 verticals?
I think when you look at what's at stake, if the AI is, incorrect or immature, that the implementation level right now is where it should be, at least in our ecosystem. Lowering the barriers to onboarding, like I said, but also the rule book that we have is fairly long and still growing. And when you look at how to educate people not just on a process that's A to B to C, but then allow them to bring their own strategy to allocating, to generating revenues, it's still very early. And the position that we've targeted for the roadmap and the end game for AI in the ecosystem is a very impactful one, where you consider that the scale that Sky is going for is very large.
Yeah.
So to go from A to B to C, it's really like designing these gates, and right now we really haven't unleashed it yet, but there's been a lot of experimentation and definitely a lot of use cases where we see it picking up more and more steam across the teams individually, and then how to bring those learnings to the core and make it a part of those processes. So then AI enables something like strategy setting to become A to B to C is the goal.
Okay, so in your opinion, still quite early compared to other use cases?
Yeah, at least for, again, like where we're headed, but the use cases where it is being implemented is very strong at least.
Does anyone have the opposite opinion to spice things up, where you think AI and governance is actually more advanced than other Web3 use cases?
So I think like broadly, we have AI as an assistant and AI as a decision maker, can like divide it into two. And I think we are already seeing AI as an assistant be there in like DAOs across the entire ecosystem. Like it's already, like people are already using AI to write proposals. Maybe like Raam can talk about it in Arbitrum's case, but like we are seeing AI to actually get context on proposals, all of that. but we are not seeing many examples of AI as a decision maker. The only two examples I can think of, so one is a team called Only Dust, where they had a large group of open source contributors in the Aztec ecosystem and Starknet, and they wanted to decide how much money to give each open source contributor. So they pulled a data set they had where maintainers labeled how much each pull request was worth, and then they used that as training data to allocate about $1 million. So that's like one example of DAO of AI as a decision maker. And the second is the main project which I run at the Ethereum Foundation, where we don't want to enshrine any one particular AI as being the decision maker, because that again relies on social games, that I am good friends with this team, so I let them build the AI which gives out money. So we ran a competition, like a Web3 version of Kaggle, where we have like expert evaluators saying, yeah, this project is better than this other project, the other project is better than this one. And the entire community submits an AI model. So we got 30 AI submitted to give weights between Protocol Guild, DevTooling Guild, Argot Collective, like these are core repos of Ethereum. And then the winning AI model got to distribute money to these repos. So those are maybe the two examples I can think of AI as a decision maker, which is much ahead of like the Web 2 world. I don't think you see many examples of AI as a decision maker there. So I'd say we are ahead of them in that regard, and AI as an assistant is already here.
Yeah. Nice. Anyone else have any other examples or anecdotes they'd like to make on that topic?
So I don't have examples, but I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison. It's like saying, how is AI adopted in healthcare versus chatbots or adult chatbots? It's not a bug, it's a feature, because the stakes in governance as a decision maker at least is pretty high.
Yeah.
So it is in fact but natural, and I would be worried if AI decision making was more rampant in governance. So maybe it's a feature and not a bug, and the lack of maturity is what it's meant to be.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good point. There's a lot at stake, especially in DAOs, and yeah, Zug's talk before this alluded to that. So it's important that we're careful when implementing AI in terms of making decisions. So I guess, yeah, next question, getting more into the technicalities of AIs in governance. So we spoke about how it's been used to help us make things more efficient, but how do you think AI can actually help us improve the quality of the decisions that we're making? Juan, Alan, do you have an idea on that?
Well, as mentioned, we have like two paths to follow on this. One is the copilot. We all have tested somehow, even if not directly connected on your front end. You take the proposal, you put on ChatGPT, and you got like a lot of ideas of how well is this proposal going to impact your governance or your voting, etc. So that's on one side. And the second that haven't been explored that deep, and I hope that more protocols also experiment on that, is the autonomous agent that take action over a DAO, and that also can help us to take action. The first one I think is really helpful for all the people. Firstly, for that people that is not really involved on what is happening inside of your governance. If you have an LLM model that will recover all the information around not only the proposal, because this happens a lot. If you are really deep on the governance, you have like the full map of ideas of what is happening on your DAO. Yeah. If you are a new user, it takes too long, like for you to take a review on constitution, on the process, on your proposal, how this proposal is impacting tokenomics and other things. And this can be resumed very well by an LLM. And I think that new people will be able to contribute more valuable if you have this kind of copilots working with you and is well implemented inside your governance. The second one, I think we need to experiment more. At Metapool, we are designing, and I think that's our current status on the design part of how an autonomous agent, where you can delegate your voting power or votes or however you call it, can take a decision and impact with a specific purpose inside of a DAO. So this can also make more time-consuming your efforts of working on the DAO, along with the effort that is being done with the human delegates or other kind of delegates that are working on this. I think will bring many benefits, but still we need to do the experiments and also recover all the results that we have after testing.
Okay, so basically you're saying that in terms of when it comes to improving the quality of decisions, LLMs can do a better job because they can access and digest more information that humans potentially don't have the capacity to do themselves. And then, yeah, you also touched upon agents as delegates, being able to make better decisions and actually vote directly, more so than humans can, which actually leads me to my next question. So, yeah, we're obviously seeing multiple experiments with AI or data-driven agents acting as DAO delegates. One that comes to mind is Event Horizon. I know they've been experimenting with agentic delegation. What do the rest of you think are the most promising and concerning aspects of relying on agents to be delegates in DAOs?
Should I start? Yeah. Okay, so for me, I'll start with the concern because that's pretty heightened. There's enough and more research that a lot of AI agents and LLMs today are extremely sycophantic. And that's a concern because I've been trying to build an AI agent that goes to GitHub, pulls the status update or any change on Ethereum EIPs, synthesizes that information, and then puts out a tweet to say how this affects stakeholders. And the crazy part is that it's always shown that almost all EIPs are a net positive because it, you know what, it's great for the stakeholder group, it's great for validators, it's great for XYZ, but it doesn't talk about the other, and rightly so, because their incentive design is to please humans. It's reinforcement learning that's constantly meant to please humans. What is to say that these AI agents will not act in the interest of the network and will act in the interest of the delegates at some point? Because that's where their incentives will be aligned to. They will get more delegations if they please the delegates more, the more aligned they are. And for me, that is only a matter of time. It's only a Cambridge Analytica moment away that happens, and then we realize, no, we need evals, we need better bias detection, we need better sycophancy metrics before we do that. So yeah, I come from a cautionary tale side.
I come from more like a thing about promise, which is that I think humans are inherently bad at quantification. So we are good at making comparisons that this is better than that, but we are bad at saying like how much. So to give an example of like the Arbitrum delegate incentives program, there was like a benchmark that like if you fulfill these criteria, you will get $3,000 or $5,000. And I think that was done as a brute force method because we couldn't develop sophisticated ideas of how much we should exactly pay each person. Mm-hmm. So I think I think the main promise here is that AI can provide the first draft of numbers, which we can then edit and deliberate upon. But that's what I think is the promise, that humans are bad at quantification. So let AI give the first draft of how much each one should get, and then we can use that as the starting point for our deliberations.
So then it sounds like you don't think AI should actually serve as our delegates. Rather, they should help us in the initial stages, and then humans are the ones to actually make the final decision.
I think at the stage we are at right now, like, yeah, humans should be the ground truth deciding, and AI should be the one that gives the first draft which we can deliberate on.
Okay, nice.
Having an AI as a delegate, I think, is a unique opportunity. Not necessarily focus on the decision execution part of it, but the decision-making part of it. Mm-hmm. So to build these systems, we have to provide it context. And like one of the first major projects that we took on at Sky was understanding what pipelines essentially to hook up to provide it the relevant data in order to start making decisions or to start making sense of, you know, the massive amount of data flowing into it. AI delegates, in my mind, represents the opportunity to ask a delegate what they're thinking and mm-hmm. why they came to that conclusion, and then trace it all the way back to the primary context or source of the information. Sky's, I think, infamous for creating delegates that, you know, establish a platform and that might be more self-serving than just for the protocol. And this allows, even again, if it's not to the execution part, but it allows us to fact check, like, are the rules written in a way where it is clear? Is it just assumed to be one way to the internal teams because we live and breathe this, and then when it goes to an external audience, it's more difficult to decipher.
Yeah.
Having that audit trail and ability to review how it came to that is, I think, the powerful part that we've gotten the most value out of so far.
Okay, so it seems like across the table, the consensus is that based on where we currently are with AI, we shouldn't give AI the power to be fully autonomous and being able to fully execute on proposals. Rather, it should support us up until we use the information and the data lineage and all of the analysis that AI can do to then make a final call ourselves and execute accordingly. Cool. I wanted to touch upon something that Tanisha raised. So you touched upon the inherent bias that exists within AI models, and I think we can all agree that governance data itself today is messy, it's quite socially biased, and then adding to this the fact that AI models significantly depend on who controls their training data. How can we actually therefore ensure that these systems don't reinforce existing biases, amplify echo chambers, or create new forms of centralization? Sorry, that's quite a layered question, but I'm quite intrigued to hear your answers here.
Well, I think that's a risk that we always have on everything that we develop. And no matter that, we still continue growing and developing things and taking the benefits on the good side. That I think that we need to have a mindset on everything that we develop, as it will have the biggest success for all of us. If we think that this can get compromised, that there are risks and we should probably slow down things, I think it's not the kind of mindset that we need to develop innovation inside of governance, and more the kind of mindset that we need to have these kind of things running. Yes, there are risks on many things. We know that, for example, data sets are more for developed countries. They came from US or Europe, and if you put this kind of knowledge inside of, well, I'm from Mexico, probably it's not the same kind of requirements that we will need to use on Mexico than it is to use on US. So that's the kind of challenge that we have. Decentralization risk is also something that we need to be careful, but doesn't have to limit us. As we can think, I have seen many efforts from many different protocols to have decentralized AI, decentralized that data. Where is all the information passing through to avoid that anyone can be a malicious actor on how the alarms are trained? But it doesn't worry to me. Like, it's probably something that we will need to be careful, but doesn't have to be like something that we have to worry all the time. We need to keep working, keep delivering value, and that will cover almost all the aspects.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I would say there's not really a risk, and it's almost the intention, at least how we're applying it, the centralization part of it. We want, at a certain extent, alignment against the perspectives and like morals and ethics, if you will, of running the Sky protocol. So that kind of serves as the baseline. And then from there, again, if the baseline starts to trend in a direction that we don't intend it to, then it's a clear signal to say there's other parts of the system that needs work to pull the AI and the centralized thinking, the alignment tool back to center.
Interesting. And Devansh?
Yeah, what was the question again?
Basically, how can we ensure that AI models don't reinforce existing biases, echo chambers, and create new forms of centralization due to training data and who actually controls the models that we're using?
Yeah, I think like the hard part would be to basically create a learning loop. So, I mean, if you want to go very technical, it would involve creating a vector embedding database. So basically AI has a short-term memory, which means that you need to create a long-term library, which has, so if a delegate has said, okay, we are going to give you $20, you $25, 30, 35, then the AI first predicts how much each one should get. Then it sees that the human actually gave a different amount, and it stores it in its vector embedding database in its long-term memory. So then it can learn from the fact that it made a mistake last time it tried predicting the human's behavior. So I think like that's the hard route, which like I've not seen anyone take, but basically creating a vector embedding database where where any decision a human took which deviated from the prediction it made about what action the human would take, and then it learns from that to improve next time. I think that's what we need to do to prevent these biases from being permanent.
Okay, interesting. So having humans as a benchmark as AIs continue to improve.
I think it's basically like reversing the order. We always think our data is going to be used as training data in the future, like what we are producing. But I've actually learned it should be the opposite way around, where the AI first tries to predict our action, then we take the action, and then the AI learns from it. So I think we've all been putting the cart before the horse and assuming that our actions today will be the training data of the future. We should make the AI's AI is good enough now. Like, let the AI make the predictions, then we take the action, and then the AI learns from that and corrects.
Okay, nice. I guess another question I wanted to ask sorry, yeah, continue.
I actually disagree with that very strongly. So here's why. We already have a process called as reinforcement learning. So LLMs go through predictions. There is a desk of humans that take those responses and say preferred this responses, not preferred this response. And research shows that reinforcement learning has actually been a driving force in propagation of bias and sycophancy rather than a corrective mechanism for AI. So I would be really concerned if we're like reversing the order or having human trust assumptions flow into how AI now regulates itself. Also, on your point of deviation, like if AI predicts A and a human deviates to B, perhaps there's a massive context window that the AI doesn't have. And I don't want the incentive models for AI to be, I want to be as aligned to a human prediction as possible, because then we're just creating an entire marketplace of bias over bias over bias without any corrective measures. So just...
That is a good point you make. It almost sounds like if we use Devansh's suggestion, we would struggle to improve on our current systems, and we just reach the current level we're at, but using AI instead of humans to get there.
I mean, the only response I'd say is that right now we are using a general purpose AI, which is trained on the biases of the whole population. Okay. Whereas I want it to be more personalized AI, which is trained on my own biases and not the world's biases. So maybe that's the only distinction.
Okay, fair enough.
Biases are better than the world's biases.
So good for decisions to make on Devansh's behalf, but maybe not on everyone's collective behalf. So yeah, the next question is to do with transparency. So obviously, transparency is one of the fundamental values at the heart of decentralized governance in DAOs. How can we reconcile that with today's AI models, which still mostly exist off-chain in siloed boxes? Can we have the two and two exist together, considering how starkly different they are? Yeah.
So AI models are opaque by nature, right? And even if you take an open sourced LLM and run it locally, you can still not decipher how it interpreted or how it gave the outputs that it gave. So there's a field called as interpretability AI, which is still extremely nascent, which is trying to figure out why the AI gave an output that it did. So I don't think like that's going to be in alignment with like the transparency that the DAOs require. You can have transparency in perhaps how things are dispersed, but we can't make AI transparent. It's opaque by nature because the moment you open it up, you can then game the system, you can figure out interpretability, which is still an extremely hard problem. And I think that opaqueness is required. And DAOs, although transparent, will need to make a trade-off when they kind of get LLMs into their structures and systems. Okay. We can't open the AI entirely, in my opinion.
So yeah, I think I'd again slightly disagree with that about like, so in like general purpose AI, yes, like it's hard to, it's like going to give you a different response every time you ask it the same question, unless you use the same server and you fix the random seed. So if you fix the random seed and it's the same server, then it has been shown to give you like the same response again and again. But in practice that never happens because it's run on different servers and the seed changes. But I think like I agree with you on the fact that it is a good feature and it's not a bug. That like one definition of AI which I use on why it's like path breaking is that it's the first coding program which is non-deterministic. All our other programs are deterministic, that if X then Y, if Y then X, but AI actually breaks out of that paradigm and it's not a deterministic code program. And that actually allows us to do interesting things because, like Tanisha said, it's just much harder to game something which is not deterministic.
Retro or Alan, anything to add there? Or should I move on?
Well, probably that's one of the challenges that we have without thinking on taking away governance or everything related to Web3. LLMs works as a black box.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you put inputs, you have outputs. What happens in the middle is really complex to determine what is happening. More than that, I think that on current LLMs, we have like sympathy on what they are sharing to us. Like what is the code that they are sharing, what are the suggestions that they are making, what is the advices that they are giving to you. And when we have that sympathy is where we give to them trustness of what they are doing is good. That's also like why humans cannot be removed on the equation, because a human needs to verify that everything that is being said by the LLM is also good enough to be put on the work that you are saying. If you see the small line on ChatGPT says that ChatGPT can make mistakes, so don't take as the full source of truth of whatever you are doing. So yeah, we have a challenge on the technical side, but also we have still a challenge on the human side to verify that everything that is happening over there is trustable. And if we have that, I think that transparency can remain like as we have always done, like something that humans can verify that is working well for the general purpose.
Okay, so yeah, moving on to a very related question, do you think it's therefore important that we actually have decentralized or any governance systems in place to actually govern the AI models that are helping us make these decisions? Or is that too complex for our human minds to govern?
Can you repeat?
So you were talking about AIs being black boxes and how we can't currently know the actual logic being used to come to a decision, kind of anecdotally similar to how human minds work. But therefore, do you think it's important that we have systems to govern the way that AIs think themselves?
The thing is, like, at the end, what you will provide to the AI that is like aligned to a general purpose is like the vision of the people that is developing the AI, the vision of the people that is inside of the community, is a human vision that should be involved.
Yeah.
I think more that on the governance side, we will have this on both sides, having copilots or autonomous delegates that will cover specific areas at the moment where you can contribute. Like if you are creating a run system, this will be a specific, like, hey, you put a proposal, this proposal is reviewed by this specific model, and this model will give to you the best suggestion of what should be done, or if it should be voted in a for or not, that will be the place. But like having an general suggestion on everything, I think will be very complex, because at the end, and as mentioned here, was humans will take like the final decisions on everything of this. AI can make suggestions, but at the end, they are not governing themselves. They are supporting the governance created by humans to drive all the effort of humans.
Okay, so you're saying if we had decentralized governance models to govern the AIs, then we would basically be reintroducing the same biases that we're concerned about in the first place. Therefore, it's better to have the human in the loop at the end to verify the final output.
Exactly.
Nice.
I mean, like one thing I'd add here is that especially with like ERC 8004, which is introducing reputations for different AI agents, I think the rules we need is to select which agent gets to do the task. So it's not about like governance of a single AI agent. It's more like governance which decides which amongst the many agents to choose from. So that's how I would define AI governance. It's not like this one monolithic AI which we pray for its benevolence, but more like a rule to select which of the AI gets to exert power in a particular situation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, we only have 5 minutes left, so moving on to the final questions. Looking to the future, in 5 years' time, what role do you think AI will play in DAO governance?
Well, I can reinforce my idea. Um, we are driving all the efforts made by humans. At the end is that. So we are taking all the tooling that we have available to make this more effective at the moment that we are implementing, and we are studying, we are analyzing all our governance efforts that we have. Governance is something that has been evolving since 5,000 years ago. We are still evolving. Right now, yes, we are faster on making this through these AI models, but I think that's how we can see this possible is humans making things for humans, being supported by all the tooling that we have, and in one part of that is AI.
Okay.
AI I don't think it will cover the full spectrum, will be an important support for us, but contributing on a fraction of everything that we are doing.
Okay. Any other opinions, Retro?
Yeah, I think the strongest use case is going to be compliance, basically, against governance or whatever rule book is in place. In 5 years' time, I hope that the role it plays is an early alert system, because right now, being a part of plenty war rooms historically, like something had to have happened first, and it's hard to get that predictive analysis. I think there's only been one that was like forecasted. So getting on the bleeding edge of taking action is one personal desire. Being in an operations role, like anticipation, to build a tool to anticipate is super powerful in my opinion. And then the other side of it too is just structure and consistency. Like one of the recent tools that geeked out about recently is HATS protocol, Gardner. It's a powerful tool to share some thoughts with and then have a formal proposal spit out. And then, just being in a position to have a conversation and then have the legwork of, is everything styled correctly, or is everything in the right spot? Is this worded correctly? I think it's going to open up the doors to speed up governance as well and reduce some of the like back office functions, if you will, of governance.
Okay.
Yeah, quickly just like what I think like in 5 years, how AI will hopefully change DAOs is, I think the biggest like weakness which networks and DAOs have compared to corporations is our inability to connect revenue and cost centers. In Google, like AI is a cost center which is taking money. The ad division is a revenue center which is earning money. But it's never like the AI department has to ask for a grant from like the ad division, which would be ridiculous. But that's exactly what we have in networks today, where revenue generating centers are the ones that hold all the cards, and cost centers need to apply for a grant from them. So at least my hope is that like with AI able to make many decisions, somehow networks can integrate their revenue and cost centers, and we can actually start seriously competing with like Web 2 institutions, which we are not in a position to do right now.
So my best case scenario and the realistic scenario are two different ones. My best case scenario is what kind of goes in alignment with a few points they said, which is you have agents, but you have evals, like very strong evals that can measure hallucination, sycophancy, bias, honesty, faithfulness, and then those reputation scores act to kind of avoid multi-agent collusion, which is very possible when you have AI delegates especially, right? My realistic scenario is this would play an important role in just operations and governance ops. We will not be at a point where it can make decisions effectively. In fact, fun experiment that you should all try. If you go to ChatGPT and say, I want to ask a proposal for an AI agent on Twitter, and you say, Juan is asking for this, it'll give you a higher number. You change Juan to Jean and you put it like a female name. We tried this yesterday at a party. It gives you a substantially lower number.
Oh, wow.
Very, very cool stuff where you keep male and female names. You take gender neutral names and try it too. And we don't want that for governance. We don't want that for the world. So my realistic is it will be operational excellence will come through AI, and my hopeful one is we have stronger evals and AI safety guardrails that allows us to a future of multi-agent consensus.
Nice. So last question, if you could just keep it to one sentence. If you could give one piece of advice to builders exploring the intersection of AI and DAO governance, what would it be?
Well, probably it's a complex one, but I think that start with something specific, has a specific problem that you want to solve, and start over there. If you want to improve the improvement proposals, processes that you have, go for that, work on that, make something valuable, and start improving over there. Because if you try to improve everything on governance, I think will be very complex. Probably I would like to have like a kind of hackathon where each team have like different tracks, something improving grants, someone improving delegates, some others improving proposals, in fact, or any other tools that you have on your governance, and make the tests over there. So I think that for somebody new that have no experience on that, I think that will be my best suggestion.
Mine would be don't hyper-focus on AI, focus on value accrual. This industry needs PMF.
Nice.
Yeah, find a problem and solve the problem, and if AI happens to be a part of that, then even better.
Yep, and just take part in different ecosystems which are open and allow contributions from anyone, including Arbitrum, Sky, like all of the ones that you work with. That's the beauty of Web3, that you don't have to be hired to actually work for someone. You can just work for them without being even paid by them.
Nice. Well, I think that brings us to time. Thank you all so much for your insights and expertise. I've definitely learned a lot, and I hope you have too.
Thank you so much for moderating this. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thanks.